Seren Vale was not supposed to touch the Alpha King's wolf. She was only supposed to clean the blood from the floor. That was the punishment. 2 hours earlier, the whole court had watched her fail the royal mate trial. The hall of Moonbanes was filled with noble daughters, pack heirs, silver-robed healers, and wolves trained to scent destiny. Seren stood barefoot in the white trial circle, wearing a gray servant dress still damp from washing royal linens. No yavels. No housemark. No visible wolf. The circle stayed dark beneath her feet. A noble girl laughed first. Then another. By the time Lord Healer Orvain lifted his hand and declared, "No bond, no wolf responding, no usable blood," the laughter had become polite enough to sound like law. Seren kept her hands open at her sides. The court already knew what they called her. Not merely wolfless, wolf-erased. A girl whose inner beast had either been stolen before birth or sealed so deeply that even the trial circle refused to waste moonlight on her. She had spent her life folding royal cloaks while being told her own soul had been emptied for a reason. At the high end of the hall, Alpha King Darius Blackthorne watched without expression. He was all black armor, winter fur, and dangerous stillness, with dark hair and eyes the color of storm steel. The space beside his throne was empty. Everyone pretended not to notice. The royal wolf should have stood there. Lord Orvain bowed toward the king. "The girl is unfit for bond recognition." Darius's chaza rested on Seren. Not kindly, not cruelly, like a blade deciding whether a thing was broken or hidden. "Then why was she brought?" he asked. The registry required every unmarked female of age to stand once before the trial circle. And now? Orvain's mouth curved. "Now the registry may close her name." End of chapter. A few nobles smiled. Seren did not lower her eyes. That was her mistake. Lady Marale, the king's favored Luna candidate, stepped forward in silver silk. "A servant who fails the circle should still serve. Let her clean the beast chamber. The king's wolf has bloodied it again." A ripple passed through the hall. Beast chamber, not royal wolf chamber. Beast. Darius's jaw tightened slightly. Orvain's eyes flashed warning at Morel, but she only smiled. "It is fitting. A girl with a sealed wolf tending a beast beyond saving." Darius looked at Seren again. For one breath, she thought he might refuse. Instead, he said, "Send her. No anger, no pity. Worse, dismissal." So Seren was taken below the palace, past moonlit halls and locked kennels, down into the old stone chamber where the Alpha King's wolf had been chained away from the court. The smell hit first. Blood, fever, silver, and something bitter beneath it. Moonbane. Seren stopped at the threshold. The guard shoved a bucket into her hands. "Scrub fast. If it wakes, do not scream." The door shut behind her. The wolf lay in the center of the chamber. It was enormous, black as a moonless forest, with a silver mane tangled around its throat. Chains ran from its collar to iron rings in the floor. Old claw marks scarred the stone. Bowls of untouched meat sat rotting by the wall. Its ribs moved too slowly. Seren gripped the bucket. She should have cleaned and left. That was how erased girls survived. Eyes down, hands busy, heart hidden. Then the wolf whimpered. Not like a monster, like something abandoned in pain. Seren set the bucket down. "You are not beyond saving," she whispered. The wolf's ear twitched. Its eyes opened, gold, dim, and fevered, fixed on her. Every lesson rose in her throat. Do not approach royal beasts. Do not meet their eyes. Do not touch what belongs to the Alpha King. Seren took one step closer. The wolf growled. Dust fell from the ceiling. She stopped, but she did not run. "You can kill me if you must," she said softly, "but I will not leave you lying in filth." The growl faded. Not trust. Exhaustion. Seren knelt beside the first bloodstain and began to scrub. The water turned black almost instantly. Not red. Black. She lifted the cloth to the light. The stain glittered faintly blue. Moonbane did not kill quickly. Everyone in the lower halls knew that. It thinned wolf blood, weakened instinct, and made command easier to force through the bond. Seren looked at the bowls by the wall, then at the wolf. This was not only poison, this was a leash being poured into the Alpha King's soul. If the royal wolf broke, Darius would not merely lose his beast. He would lose the part of himself no crown could guard. Whoever controlled the dying wolf could bend the king through the bond and make obedience look like grief. The chamber door opened. Darius Blackthorne stood in the doorway. Seren rose too quickly, poisoned cloth still in hand. His eyes went to it. "What are you holding?" She should have lied. Instead, she held the cloth higher. "Your wolf is not dying from a curse." The chamber went still. Darius stepped inside. "What did you say?" "Someone is poisoning him." Darius crossed the room and caught her wrist. Not hard enough to bruise. Hard enough to remind her he was king. "Be careful," he said softly. "Accusing my court is a fast way to die." Seren looked at his hand around her wrist, then at the wolf. "Then your wolf is already being used to kill you slowly." His grip loosened. The wolf whimpered. Seren pulled her wrist free before he fully released it. The small choice made his eyes sharpen. Lord Orvain's voice came from the doorway. "Touch that beast, and he will tear your throat open." Seren looked up. Orvain stood there with guards, and Lady Morell behind him. His face was calm. His eyes were not. Afraid. Seren saw it. So did Darius. The king turned slowly. "Why are you here?" "To prevent a wolf-erased servant from worsening what she cannot understand." Seren looked at the wolf. Its gold eyes stayed on her. Not begging, recognizing, she opened her hands. Slowly, the wolf dragged one chained paw forward. Orvain whispered, "No." Seren stepped closer. Darius moved as if to stop her, then stopped himself. One breath, one choice. She placed her palm against the wolf's fevered muzzle. Pain flashed through her hand. Silver moonlight burst beneath her skin. The dying wolf went still. Then, with a broken sound that shook the chamber, the Alpha King's beast crawled forward through its chains and bowed its massive head at Seren's feet. Darius stared as if the world had cracked open. Lady Morell screamed. Orvain went white. And every wolf in the palace began howling the secret title buried under Seren's erased soul. Moon Heir. The palace answered the wolf before any human did. One low howl rolled up from the lower kennels. Another rose from the western yard. Then the royal hunting packs beyond the wall joined, until Blackthorne Palace shook with a title no courtier dared repeat aloud. Moon Heir. Seren stood frozen with her palm still pressed to the royal wolf's fevered muzzle. The beast bowed at her feet. Not dead, not tamed, bowing. Its enormous black head rested before her bare toes, silver mane trembling with each breath. The chains around its collar pulled tight, but it did not fight them. Its dim gold eyes stayed fixed on Seren as if the whole chamber had disappeared and only she remained. Darius Blackthorne did not move, but his face changed. Only once. A sharp flicker crossed his eyes, like pain striking behind the bone. His hand rose to his chest, just below the heart, then stopped before anyone could mistake the gesture for weakness. Seren saw it. So did Orvain. The healer recovered first. Step away from the beast. Seren's fingers tightened in the wolf's fur. The silver light beneath her skin faded to a thin glow, but something stayed connected, a pulse under her palm. A second pulse, answering from across the room. Darius. He felt the wolf through her touch. The realization moved over his face like a door opening in darkness. Orvain saw it too, and fear sharpened his voice. I said, "Step away." Darius turned his head slowly. "You do not command in this chamber." Orvain bowed. "Forgive me, my king. I only fear what she has awakened." Lady Morell stepped behind him in silver silk, pale and shaken. "My king," the wolves called her Moon Heir. "That title has not been spoken inside this palace for 200 years. Darius looked at Seren. "And yet everyone seems to know it." Silence. Small. Ugly. Seren looked from Morell to Orvain. Buried titles are still taught to the people who buried them. Morell's mouth tightened. Orvain's expression remained calm, but his fingers moved once toward the silver case at his belt. The royal wolf growled. Seren felt the sound through her palm. Darius flinched almost invisibly. Not from fear, from the bond. The growl had passed through him too. His eyes darkened. "What did she do to my wolf?" Orvain answered too quickly. Triggered a false recovery response. A dying beast may kneel before any source of moonlight before it breaks completely. Seren looked down at the wolf. Its breathing was still rough, but the rattle had eased. The The black froth at its mouth had stopped. The fever under its fur no longer burned like a forge. "That is not breaking," she said. "You clean floors," Orvain snapped. "Do not name what you cannot understand." Seren lifted the stained cloth from the bucket. Black water dripped onto the stone. The chamber went still. "This is Moonbane," she said. "Not mercy dose, not battlefield dose. Enough to thin wolf. Blood until command can be forced through pain. Darius gaze kut tu Orvain." The healer bowed again, but sweat had gathered at his temple. A servant's guess. "Laundry remembers what nobles throw away," Seren said. Darius stepped toward the bowls by the wall. Orvain moved half a step first. The wolf surged up. Chains screamed. Iron rings cracked in the floor. Its teeth flashed toward Orvain's throat, stopping inches away only because Seren's hand slid to its muzzle again. "Easy," she whispered. The beast obeyed. Darius stared at her hand, then at his wolf, then at Orvain. "Why does my wolf obey her touch and not your medicine?" Orvain's face hardened. "Because whatever lives under her erased soul is interfering with royal bondwork." "Royal bondwork?" Seren repeated. Too late, Orvain realized the phrase had escaped. Darius heard it. The chamber seemed to lose air. Orvain recovered with a bow. "A healer's term, Majesty." "No," Darius said. "That was a court term." The wolf's gold eyes rolled toward Darius, and Seren felt it again. A thread pulled between beast and king, frayed nearly to breaking. Beneath it was something worse. A second thread. Black. Artificial. Wrapped around the bond like a hidden leash. She swallowed. "Someone is not trying to kill him." Darius looked at her. Seren forced herself to continue. "They are trying to keep him almost dead, weak enough to steer, alive enough for the bond to remain open." Merel whispered. "You accuse the healer of treason?" Seren looked at her. "No." Orvain's shoulders eased for half a breath. Seren saw it and understood. "I accuse him of serving someone who knows how to use the king's wolf against the king." Darius went completely still. Orvain's eyes changed. Not fear now. Warning. As if Seren had stepped close to a door she was never meant to see. Darius's voice dropped. "Who?" Orvain said nothing. The silver case at his belt clicked open by itself. No hand touched it. A thin black vial rose from inside. Seren stepped back. The wolf snarled. Darius reached for Orvain, but the healer did not move like a guilty man trying to escape. He stood rigid, face suddenly empty, eyes glazed with black shine. Someone else was looking through him. A woman's voice came from Orvain's mouth. "Zoft. Old. Amused. Do not damage my instrument, Darius." The chamber froze. Mairelle went white. Darius's expression turned lethal. "Mother." Seren's breath caught. The Dowager Queen. The real power behind the council. The black vial spun slowly in the air, filled with moonbane so dark it swallowed the torchlight. Orvain's borrowed voice continued. "Your wolf has resisted me for months. Your grief made you difficult. Your rage made you unpredictable. But a king can always be reached through the beast he loves." The vial flew toward the wolf's open mouth. Seren moved before thought. She caught it against her own chest. The glass shattered. Moonbane soaked into her dress. Pain burned through her ribs. The wolf roared. Darius caught Orvain by the throat and slammed him against the wall, but the healer's eyes only rolled blacker. The dowager's voice laughed through him. "Ah, there she is." Seren could not breathe. The Moonbane had found something under her skin. Not sickness, a seal. Silver light tore across her chest in the shape of a crescent wolf. Her knees hit the stone, but her hands stayed open. The royal wolf rose behind her, no longer bowing. Guarding. Darius turned towards Seren, and the bond hit him so hard he staggered one step, hand pressed to his heart. He felt her pain. The chamber saw it. Morel whispered, "That is not possible." From inside Seren's shadow, a second wolf opened its eyes. Not black, silver, sealed, waiting. And through Orvain's stolen mouth, the Dowager Queen whispered, "Bring me the moon, ere before she remembers how to heal a king." The second wolf opened its eyes inside Seren's shadow. Silver, silent, waiting. For one breath, no one in the beast chamber moved. Even the royal wolf behind her held still, its massive black body half risen over Seren like a living wall. Moonbane burned through the front of her dress, sinking into her skin, hunting for the seal it had touched. Seren could not breathe. The crescent wolf mark across her chest flared brighter, then vanished under her collarbone like something diving beneath dark water. Darius still had Orvain pinned against the wall by the throat, but his gaze was on Seren now, his hand pressed against his own chest, exactly where her mark had burned. The bond had carried her pain into him. Not fully. Enough. His face had gone pale beneath the fury. "Get out of him," Darius said. Orvain smiled with the Dowager Queen's mouth. "Still commanding the wrong body, my son." The word son struck the chamber colder than the Moonbane. Lady Merrill took one step back. Not toward Seren, not toward Darius. Toward the door. The royal wolf growled. She stopped. Darius tightened his grip on Orvain's throat. "You poisoned my wolf. I saved your crown from your weakness." "My wolf is not weakness." "No," the Dowager's voice said through Orvain. "He is the door, and for months he has refused to open." Seren pushed one hand against the stone floor and tried to rise. The room tilted. The Moonbane had not poisoned her the way it poisoned the royal wolf. It had crawled through her blood searching for command, then recoiled when it found something older than obedience. The silver wolf in her shadow blinked again. Orvain's blackened eyes shifted toward it. "There," the Dowager whispered. The stolen healer line was not dead after all. Seren's fingers dug into the stone. "Stolen?" Darius looked sharply at her. The Dowager laughed softly. "Did they tell you that you were born empty?" Poor child. Empty things are easy to store secrets inside. Seren's stomach tightened. All her life, wolf erased had meant failure. A sealed soul. A body the moon refused to answer. Now the woman behind the poison spoke as if Seren's emptiness had been made. Darius heard it too. He released Orvain just enough for the healer's boots to scrape the floor. "Who sealed her wolf?" Orvain's lips parted. The Dowager's voice answered amused. "Your father's counsel, my hand, Orvain's knife. A few loyal midwives. History is never a single crime." The chamber seemed to shrink around Seren. She saw white cloth, a cradle, cold fingers pressing beneath her ribs, a woman crying somewhere far away. Then nothing. Not a memory. The edge of one. The royal wolf whined behind her. Darius's fury changed shape. Less explosive now. Deeper. More dangerous. She was a child. She was a key, the Dowager said. Moon. Healers were bred to mend wolf souls. A beautiful gift. A dangerous one. If one of them ever touched your beast, she could sever every leash we placed inside him. Seren looked at the black wolf. Its gold eyes stayed on her. Not asking. Remembering. She forced herself upright, one hand braced on the beast's foreleg. "Then that is why you made everyone think I had no wolf." "Not think," the Dowager said. "Believe. Belief is cleaner. People guard a lie better when they mistake it for nature." Darius slammed Orvain harder against the wall. Cracks ran through the stone behind his head. The healer's body jerked, but the Dowager only sighed through him. "Careful. Break him, and you lose the only mouth in this room willing to tell the truth." "Truth?" Darius said. "The first piece of it." The black vial shards on Seren's dress began to smoke. The Moonbane was still moving. Not into her heart. Toward her shadow. The silver wolf bared its teeth without sound. "Sire hospt." Darius released Orvain and moved toward her. The royal wolf blocked him. Not with threat. With warning, Darius stopped. That restraint hurt him. Seren saw it in his jaw, in the way his hand opened and closed once at his side. "What do you need?" he asked. "Not an order. A question." Seren looked at the Moonbane smoke curling from her dress. "Water. Clean water. Not moon water," Morel whispered. "There is none in the beast chamber." Seren looked at her. "Then get some." Morel stiffened. "You command me?" "No," Seren said. "I am asking whether you want your king alive." That landed. Morel's eyes flicked to Darius. Something cold and calculating crossed her face. Then she turned to a guard. "Bring well water. Now." The guard ran. Orvain's body sagged against the wall, but the Dowager still watched through his eyes. She learns quickly. End of Part 4 Sif. Seren ignored her. She reached for the wolf's muzzle again. Darius said, "Seren." She paused. His voice was low. "If touching him opens the bond further, it may hurt you. It already does. That is not consent." The words startled her more than the pain. A king who had ordered her into this chamber now stopped to name the line before crossing it. Seren met his eyes. "Then witness, do not decide." Darius went still. Then he inclined his head once. Seren placed both hands on the royal wolf's muzzle. Pain struck hard. This time she did not pull away. The chamber vanished. She stood in a black corridor made of veins and moonlight. At the far end, the royal wolf was chained inside Darius's soul, surrounded by black hooks dripping moonbane. Each hook led upward into a crown-shaped shadow. Not Orvain, not Myrel, not even the Dowager alone. A council of unseen hands held the hooks. Old men in silver rings, noble women behind veils, healers with moon-white gloves. A throne behind them all, empty and waiting to be filled by a king who would think every command was his own. Seren heard the Dowager's true voice there. When the beast kneels, the king follows. Seren opened her hands. The silver wolf in her shadow stepped into the corridor beside her. Small at first, then larger. A lean silver she-wolf with crescent light in her chest and old sorrow in her eyes. Seren whispered, "Are you mine?" The wolf looked at her, then pressed its forehead to Seren's palm. "Not mine." The answer moved through her without words. "You." The vision broke. Seren came back screaming. Darius staggered at the same time, one hand gripping the stone wall as if her pain had cut through his own ribs. The royal wolf roared and snapped one black hook of poison from its bond. Orvain collapsed to his knees. For the first time, the Dowager's voice lost its amusement. "Enough." The chamber door burst open. The guard returned with a basin of well water. Seren grabbed it and poured it over her burned chest. Steam rose silver. The Moonbane retreated from her skin, hissing like a living thing. The crescent wolf mark appeared again, brighter now. No longer just a mark, but a wound-shaped door. Darius stared at it. So did everyone else. Orvain lifted his head with black eyes. The Dowager spoke through his bleeding mouth. "Chain her before the court sees that mark." The palace wolves howled again. Not Moon Air this time. A new title rolled through stone, kennels, and throne hall. Soulmender. And somewhere above them, the royal council bells began to ring for execution. The execution bells rang above the beast chamber. Not trial bells. Not council bells. Execution. Seren stood with well water dripping from her ruined dress. Silver steam rising from the crescent wolf mark burned across her chest. The royal wolf pressed its massive body between her and the door, black fur lifted, gold eyes no longer dim. Not healed. Awake enough to choose. Darius Blackthorne turned toward the stairs. His face had become stone. "Who rang them?" he asked. No one answered. They did not need to. Above them, the palace moved. Boots thundered across corridors. Chains rattled. Wolves howled behind locked kennel gates, not in rage now, but warning. The royal council had heard the title, Soulmender, and the council understood what Darius was only beginning to understand. If Seren could mend wolf souls, then every leash they had hidden inside his beast could be undone. Lord Orvain sagged against the wall, his eyes no longer fully black, but not clean either. The Dowager Queen had withdrawn from his mouth, leaving him pale, sweating, and terrified of the silence she left behind. Darius crossed the chamber in 3 strides and seized him by the front of his healer's robes. "How many?" Orvain swallowed. "Majesty, how many hooks in my wolf?" The healer's mouth trembled. Seren watched his eyes flick upward. Not toward Darius. Toward the palace above. Toward the people he feared more than the king standing in front of him. Darius saw it too. His grip tightened. Orvain whispered, "Enough to guide grief. Not enough to break you." The chamber went cold. Darius's voice dropped. "Guide grief." Orvain closed his eyes. Seren understood before he explained. The sudden rages. The empty throne beside him. The dismissed mercy. The choice to send a wolf-erased servant into a beast chamber because it felt easier than questioning why his wolf had become a monster. "They have been making you think their commands were your instincts," Seren said. Darius did not look at her. That was how she knew the words had struck. The execution bells rang again. Morel stepped carefully away from the wall. Her silver gown was stained now where the beast chamber damp had touched it, but her face had regained its courtly mask. "My king," she said softly, "if you keep her hidden here, they will call it treason." Darius turned his head. "They?" Morel's lips parted, then closed. "Wrong word." Seren saw it. So did he. The royal wolf growled. Darius released Orvain. The healer dropped to the floor, gasping. "Bring her up," Darius said. Seren's stomach tightened. The wolf snapped its head toward him. Darius looked at Seren then, and for the first time since the chamber door opened, something in his eyes was not command. It was warning. "If I keep you below, they own the story," he said. "If you stand before them, they must lie in front of your mark." Seren felt the burn under her collarbone. "And if they condemn me?" His jaw tightened. "Then they condemn you where I can hear every word. Not comfort, not protection. A brutal kind of honesty." She nodded once. Darius looked at the royal wolf. "Can you stand?" The beast rose. Slowly, chains dragged across the stone. Orvain lifted his head in horror. "Majesty, the beast cannot leave the chamber." Darius did not look at him. "The beast has a name." Silence. Even Seren did not breathe. Darius reached for the collar around the wolf's throat. His hand stopped before touching the poisoned silver. Seren saw the black thread coiled through the metal. So did he now. He looked at her. "Can you open it?" She stepped closer. The wolf lowered its head. Seren placed her fingers on the collar and felt the hidden hooks shiver inside it. Not locks, commands. Words sharpened into metal. Obey through pain. Kneel through grief. Bite when ordered. Love the hand that poisons you. Seren's hand shook. Darius saw. He did not take over. He only said, "Witness." The words steadied her. She opened both palms around the collar. Silver light moved from her crescent mark into the metal. The collar hissed. A black vein of Moonbane crawled toward her wrist, but the silver wolf inside her shadow opened its eyes and growled without sound. The collar cracked. The royal wolf stepped free. Orvane made a broken noise. "Merel won't parle again." Darius looked at the freed beast. "Karen." The wolf's ears lifted. "Anama, not beast. Not monster. Karen." The wolf pressed its brow briefly to Darius's chest. The king flinched as the bond answered, raw and painful, but he did not step away. Then he turned toward the stairs. "Come." They brought Seren to the throne hall with the freed royal wolf walking behind her. That was the first public wound in the council's story. The court had gathered in a panic. Noble houses filled the moonlit balconies. Council lords stood beneath the black banners. Silver-robed healers lined the steps like a wall of soft knives. At the center of the hall, the white trial circle still waited where Seren had failed hours earlier. Now it glowed faintly before she even reached it. Whispers spread. Wolf. Erased. Moon heir. Soul mender. Execution witch. The last one came from a council lord with a jeweled throat chain. Seren looked at him. He looked away first. Darius took the throne steps, but did not sit. The Dowager Queen sat in his place. She wore black velvet, a silver crown, and the calm face of a woman who had never needed to raise her voice to kill. Her eyes moved over Seren's wet dress, the hidden mark beneath it, the freed wolf behind her. Then she smiled. "My son," she said, "you bring the condemned late." Darius's voice was ice. "I bring the witness alive." A stir moved through the hall. The dowager looked amused. "Witness? A servant who failed the bond circle?" Seren stepped into the white trial circle. This time, before anyone ordered her, the floor lit silver beneath her bare feet. Gasps broke across the hall. The dowager's smile thinned. Seren lifted her chin. "You called me empty this morning." Lord Orvain, dragged in by guards, turned his face away. Seren opened her hands. The trial circle answered, not with a mate bond, with a heartbeat. Deep below the hall, every royal wolf struck its kennel door at once. The dowager rose slowly. Darius descended one step from the throne dais, his face unreadable but his hand resting on Karen's freed shoulder. Seren looked at the court that had laughed at her. "I want the circle to test what was erased." The white moonstone beneath her cracked open. Silver light rose through the split. and from under the trial floor the bones of a wolf pup wrapped in healer's silk began to surface. The bones of the wolf pup rose from beneath the trial floor. Small, silver-white, wrapped in healer's silk. For one moment no one in the Hall of Moonbones made a sound. The court that had laughed at Seren only hours ago now stared at the thing buried under the place where she had failed. The white trial circle glowed around her bare feet, cracked open like an old wound finally breathing. Seren could not move. The bones were too small, too fragile. A wolf pup should have been warm once, fierce once, clumsy and breathing and alive inside some child's soul. Her soul. The thought entered her so quietly that it hurt more than a scream. Karen, the Alpha King's freed wolf, lowered his head behind her and released a sound so mournful the noble wolves in the balconies began whining. Darius Blackthorne's hand tightened in Karen's fur. The Dowager Queen looked at the bones without blinking. Only Lord Orvain broke. He made one strangled sound and turned his face away. Seren heard it. So did Darius. The king descended another step from the dais. "Explain." No one answered. The trial circle pulsed. The healer's silk around the bones began to darken, old moon thread waking under Seren's silver mark. Words appeared across the cloth, stitched in black. Subject, Seren Vale. Condition, wolf. Response sealed. Authority, Royal Healer's Office. Age, 3 days. The hall erupted. Seren did not hear most of it. 3 days. She had not failed the moon. She had not been born empty. Someone had taken her wolf before she had even opened her eyes long enough to know what had been stolen. Her hands closed. The trial circle dimmed. Karen growled. Darius saw it first. "Open your hands." The order snapped through the noise. Seren turned on him, fury cutting through shock. "Do not command me." The hall went silent again. No servant spoke to the Alpha King that way. No wolf-erased girl did. Darius's face hardened. For a breath, the old king returned. Cold, crowned, dangerous. Then his eyes dropped to her fists, to the dimming circle, to the bones. His jaw tightened. "Then hear me without command," he said. "If you close your hands, the mark goes dark." Seren looked down. He was right. The silver light under her skin had begun to retreat. Slowly, painfully. She opened her fingers. The trial circle flared again. Darius did not look relieved. He looked angry that she had needed his help, and angrier that he had almost taken instead of asked. The Dowager Queen stepped down from the throne seat at last. Her black velvet whispered over the stone. "Enough," she said. "The court will not be ruled by bones and servant hysteria." Seren looked at her. The silver wolf inside her shadow lifted its head. The Dowager saw it. A flicker passed through her eyes. Fear. Small. Real. Then gone. "This is old healer work," the Dowager continued. "Many unstable children were sealed in those years. It was mercy." Seren's voice came thin. "You call cutting a newborn's wolf out mercy? I call preventing a dangerous bloodline from tearing itself open mercy." Darius turned toward her. "What bloodline?" The Dowager's gaze stayed on Seren. "Ask your little soul mender. I am asking you. You are asking as if the throne has not survived, because better minds made harder choices before you were old enough to bare your teeth." The words landed like knives. The council lords straightened. There was the deeper power. Not Orvain, not Marilla. A court that still believed the Dowager had saved the kingdom by deciding who deserved a whole soul. Seren knelt beside the pup bones. No one told her to. No one dared stop her. She reached for the healer's silk, then paused. Her fingers trembled above it. Darius took one step. Karen blocked him with his body. The wolf did not threaten him. It reminded him. Witness, not rescue. Darius stopped. Seren touched the silk. The hall vanished. She saw a nursery made of white stone. A cradle. A newborn crying without sound. Orvain, younger, hands steady but face pale. The Dowager beside him, one finger resting on the infant's chest. "She carries moon healer blood," Orvain whispered. "If we seal it wrong, she dies." "Then do it correctly," the Dowager said. A woman screamed somewhere beyond the door. Seren's mother. "Please," the woman cried. "Take my rank. Take my name. Not her wolf." The Dowager did not look toward the sound. She will live empty, she said. That is more mercy than her line gave mine. The vision broke. Seren came back on her knees, gasping. The entire hall watched her. Darius's face had gone pale with controlled rage. What did you see? Seren looked at the dowager. My mother begged you. A murmur passed through the court. The dowager's expression did not change. Seren rose slowly. You did not seal me because I was dangerous. You sealed me because my blood could undo what you were building. The trial circle answered with a deep pulse. The pup bones shone. Orvain fell to his knees. Majesty, I was ordered. Darius looked at him. The healer flinched before he spoke. Her line could mend broken wolf souls, Orvain said. Not only heal, mend. If a moon heir reached the royal beast, every command hook inside the bond would unravel. The council feared. The dowager struck her cane once against the floor. Orvain's mouth snapped shut. Black veins appeared at his throat. Seren saw them. So did Darius. She still holds him, Seren said. Darius turned to the dowager. The dowager smiled faintly. I hold many things. The council lords placed their hands over their rings. One be one, silver rings. Black stones, the same shape as the hooks Seren had seen in the bond. Darius looked around the hall and understood. His mother was not alone. The council had not poisoned his wolf to kill a beast. They had poisoned the bond to rule through him. Darius lifted his hand from Karen's fur. The wolf stood beside him, freed but still weak, golden eyes fixed on the ringed lords. The dowager spoke softly. Choose carefully, my son. A king may survive a sick wolf. He may even survive a servant's accusation. But he does not survive turning on the council that holds his borders together. Seren waited for Darius to look at her. He did not. He looked at the bones, the pup that had been taken from her. Then he looked at Orvain, then the council. When he finally looked at Seren, his voice was cold enough to frost the hall. What do you need from the circle? Not what are you? Not how do I use you? What do you need? Seren swallowed. The pup bones glowed beneath her feet. My wolf, she said. The dowager's smile faded. Seren opened both hands toward the broken trial floor. I want back what was stolen. The trial circle split wider. Silver light rose like moonfire. The bones of the pup lifted from the silk, piece by piece, not as death now, but as memory searching for shape. Karen threw his head back and howled. Every wolf in the hall answered. The dowager shouted, Stop her! The council rings flashed black. Darius drew his sword and stepped between Seren and his own court. Not soft, not devoted, furious. Touch her, he said, and I will know which hands have been inside my wolf. The silver bones gathered before Seren. A small wolf-shaped light opened its eyes. And for the first time in her life, Seren heard something inside her answer. The small wolf-shaped light opened its eyes. Seren forgot the court, forgot the dowager, forgot the sword in Darius Blackthorne's hand and the council rings flashing black behind him. For one impossible breath, there was only the little silver wolf standing in the broken trial circle, made from bone memory moonfire, and a grief so old it had no voice left. It was small enough to fit against her chest, thin, trembling. Its ears were too large for its head, like a pup that had never been allowed to grow. Seren's knees almost gave. That was what they had taken from her. Not strength, not status. A beginning. The pup looked up at her. Inside Seren's ribs, something answered. Not a howl, a heartbeat. The whole hall of Moonbanes felt it. Every noble wolf lowered its head, every healer stepped back. Even Karen, the Alpha King's great black beast, bowed until his silver mane brushed the floor. Darius did not move from where he stood between Seren and the council. But his grip on the sword changed. He felt the heartbeat too. Through Karen. Through the poison bond. Through the strange thread Seren had opened when she touched his dying wolf. The Dowager Queen's voice cut through the silence. Do you see now? The council lords stilled. The Dowager descended another step, black velvet trailing behind her. This is why her line was sealed. Not because they heal wolves, because wolves kneel to them before they kneel to kings. The words entered the court, like poison. Some nobles looked at the bowed wolves and saw miracle. Others saw threat. Seren saw the trap. The Dowager could not deny the stolen wolf anymore, so she would make healing look like treason. The little silver pup took one step towards Seren. The council rings flared. The trial circle changed. Its silver light darkened at the edges, turning sharp and black, forming old judgment marks around Seren's bare feet. The pup froze. Karen snarled. Darius turned just enough to see the symbols closing around her. "What is this?" he demanded. Lord Orvain, still kneeling, whispered, "A reversal rite." Darius's sword angled toward him. "Explain." Orvain swallowed. "If a sealed wolf is called back before lawful restoration, the circle may judge it as a hostile spirit." Seren's blood went cold. The Dowager smiled. "Not may. Will." The black marks tightened around the pup. It cried out. The sound was small. Seren stepped forward. Pain shot through her feet as the circle burned her. Darius moved. "Do not," Seren said. He stopped so sharply the sword trembled in his hand. She did not look at him. If she did, she might ask him to save her. And the Dowager was waiting for exactly that. A king's protection could become a cage if the court named it possession. Seren opened both hands toward the pup. "I am here," she whispered. The little wolf shivered. The circle hissed. The Dowager lifted her chin. "A sealed wolf must be claimed by crown, council, or death. Those are the laws that kept this kingdom intact." Seren looked at her. "Those are the laws that kept children empty." A murmur moved through the hall. Darius's face hardened, but he still did not step in front of her. He understood. Not enough. Not fully, but enough to witness instead of taking the choice from her. The Dowager turned to the court. "Look carefully. The girl does not restore. She summons. She can wake sleeping wolf souls, bend royal beasts, and fracture the king's bond by touching it. If she walks free, no alpha line is safe." Fear spread quickly. It always did. A council lord raised his ringed hand. "Then the rite must finish." Another followed. "Let the circle judge her." Morel stood pale near the dais, fingers pressed to her throat. "If she is innocent, the moon will spare her." Seren almost laughed. The moon had not sealed her. People had. The black marks climbed higher, circling her ankles like burning wire. The pup stumbled toward her again. This time Seren went to it. The circle cut into her skin with cold fire. She bit back a cry and knelt before the small wolf. It pressed its forehead to her open palm, shaking so violently that silver sparks fell from its fur. A vision struck. A nursery. A newborn crying. Orvain's knife. The Dowager's hand. A tiny wolf pulled from a child's soul and folded into moon silk like something inconvenient. Then another image. A hidden vault beneath the palace. Rows of silver cocoons. Not one. Dozens. Seren gasped back into herself. Her hand stayed on the pup. Darius saw her face. "What did you see?" Seren looked at the council. At the rings. At the healers. At the Dowager. I was not the only one. The hall went still. The Dowager's smile vanished. Seren rose slowly, the little wolf light beside her. "There are more sealed wolves under this palace." A healer dropped his bowl. The sound shattered the silence. Darius turned toward his mother. The Dowager's eyes had gone flat. "Careful, girl." Seren's voice shook once, then steadied. "How many children did you call empty?" The trial circle flared black. "Punishment." The pup screamed and collapsed. Seren dropped with it. Darius stepped forward before he could stop himself. The circle struck him. Black light lashed up his arm and dragged through the bond into Karen. The royal wolf roared, falling to one knee. Darius clenched his teeth, but pain carved through his face. The court saw. Seren saw. If the circle hurt her, it hurt him now. The Dowager saw it too. Her expression changed from anger to satisfaction. "There," she said softly. "The moon. Air has infected the alpha bond." Darius forced himself upright. "No." The word was rough. He looked at the court, then at Seren kneeling beside her stolen wolf, then at Karen bleeding black from the mouth again. She revealed where the infection was. He lifted his sword and drove it point first into the trial circle. Silver and black light burst outward. The court cried out. The Dowager shouted, "You cannot cut royal law." Darius's voice dropped colder than winter. "I am not cutting law." He looked at the burning judgment marks. "I am cutting the lie inside it." The sword cracked. The circle cracked with it. For one breath, Seren thought it would break. Then the council rings burned brighter. Every ringed hand rose. The trial circle sealed itself around Seren, Darius, Karen, and the silver pup like a cage of black moonlight. The dowager lifted her hand. Then let the court witness them all judged together. The floor beneath Seren opened, not into stone, into the hidden vault from her vision, and from below, dozens of sealed wolf pups began crying in the dark. The hidden vault opened beneath the trial circle. The sound that rose from it was not loud. That made it worse. Dozens of sealed wolf pups cried in the dark, small voices trapped under stone, moon silk, and old royal law. The court heard them and forgot how to breathe. Even the nobles who had raised their ringed hands began looking at one another as if the sound had crawled beneath their skin. Seren knelt inside the black moonlight cage with her own silver pup trembling against her palm. One stolen wolf had been a tragedy. Dozens became a kingdom. Darius stood beside Karen, one hand still on the cracked sword, black light burning around his wrist where the circle had struck him. His face had gone colder than rage. "How many?" he asked. No one answered. The cries below did. The Dowager Queen remained perfectly still, but her silence had changed. It was no longer command, it was calculation. Seren looked into the opening. The vault beneath the Hall of Moonbones was lined with silver cradles, not for children, for wolves. Each cradle held a small moon-silk bundle, glowing faintly with a sealed spirit. Some barely moved. Some pressed tiny paws against cloth that would not tear. Some had gone so still that only the faintest pulse of light proved they had not vanished. Seren's stomach turned. "These are not hostile spirits," she said. Her voice shook, then steadied. "They are children." A council lord snapped. "They are unstable wolf remnants." Karin snarled. The lord stepped back. Darius looked at him. "Say it again." The man's face drained. The dowager lifted one hand. "Enough. Sentiment will not save the throne. Those wolves were sealed because their bloodlines were dangerous. Moon, healers, dreambiters, oathbreakers, children born with beasts, stronger than their names. We preserved the kingdom from chaos." Seren rose slowly. Her silver pup stood beside her, thin legs shaking. "You preserved obedience." The black moonlight cage tightened. Pain cut around Seren's ribs. Darius felt it too. His hand flew to his side, but he did not step in front of her. Not this time. He had learned the shape of the trap. If he made her only his protected thing, the court would turn her truth into seduction, possession, infection. So he stood beside her, bleeding, witnessing. The dowager saw it and smiled. "You think standing beside her makes you noble. It only proves my point. Her power has already reached your bond." Darius looked at the court. "My bond was reached long before she touched it." The word silenced the hall. He lifted his burned wrist. Black veins moved under the skin, shaped like hooks. "This is not her work." Karen stepped forward and lowered his head. The same black hooks flickered beneath the silver mane at his throat. Gasps broke from the balconies. Darius's voice stayed cold. "The council has been ruling through a poisoned wolf. Through grief. Through pain. Through commands hidden inside healing. One by one, eyes turned toward the ringed lords." The dowager struck her cane against the floor. The black cage flared. The sealed pups cried louder. "Then let the soul mender prove her mercy," she said. "Open the vault, girl. Restore every sealed wolf at once. Let the court see what happens when old blood wakes hungry." Seren understood. If she refused, they would call her false. If she tried and failed, they would call her dangerous. If she succeeded too quickly, they would call her uncontrollable. The dowager had built a trial where every door led to a noose. The silver pup pressed against Seren's ankle, not asking her to save them all at once, reminding her to breathe. Seren opened her hands. Slowly, the black cage hissed but did not strike. "I will not perform mercy for your court," she said. The dowager's eyes narrowed. Seren looked down into the vault. "And I will not wake frightened souls like weapons just because you want them to look monstrous." The first silver cradle trembled. A tiny wolf inside lifted its head. Seren felt the answer under her skin. Not all. 1. Healing was not spectacle. It was consent. She knelt at the edge of the opening and reached toward the nearest cradle. The black moonlight sliced across her arm, drawing blood. Darius moved half a step. stopped. His jaw clenched hard enough to hurt. "What do you need?" he asked. Seren did not look back. "Names." The hall went still. Darius turned toward Orvain, who knelt pale and shaking near the steps. "The records." Orvain swallowed. "I do not have them." Karen growled. Orvain broke. "The Dowager keeps them in the nursery ledger." The Dowager's face hardened. Darius looked at his mother. "Bring it." She smiled. "No." The black rings on the council lords flared again. The moonlight cage tightened around Seren's throat. She could not breathe. Darius lifted his broken sword. The Dowager's voice sharpened. "Strike the circle, and you strike her." He froze. Seren clawed at the air, but kept one hand open. Her silver pup lunged toward the cage wall and bit the black light. It screamed. The pup screamed too, but did not let go. Then Karen lowered his massive head and bit into the same black moonlight from outside. Darius staggered as the pain tore through him. The court watched the Alpha King's wolf and Seren's stolen pup bite the same cage from opposite sides. The cage cracked. Just once. Enough. A child's voice rose from the vault below. "Leora." Seren sucked in air. The nearest sealed pup pressed its paws against the moon silk. "My name was Leora." The court went silent. A kitchen maid in the balcony collapsed with a cry. "My daughter." The Dowager's expression flickered. There it was. Not every sealed wolf belonged to ancient danger. Some belonged to living grief. Seren reached through the crack in the cage and touched the first cradle. "I hear you, Leora." The moon silk loosened. A small, silver wolf crawled free and bounded upward in a burst of light, crossing the hall toward the sobbing kitchen maid. The woman opened her arms, and the spirit vanished into her chest. She screamed once, then shifted. Not fully, not violently. Only her eyes turned bright silver, and a wolf shadow rose behind her, whole and trembling. The court erupted. Darius stared at the woman, then at Seren. The Dowager whispered, "Impossible." Seren stood, blood running down her arm, the black cage flickering around her. "No," she said, "hidden." The vault below began to glow. One by one, sealed pups lifted their heads. Names rose from the dark. Thomas, Eria, Malric, Sava. Dozens. Hundreds. The council lords backed away from the sound. Darius turned toward them, eyes like storm steel. "You sealed my people's wolves." The Dowager lifted her chin. "I protected your throne." Darius's voice dropped. "Then my throne has been fed children." The black crown above the throne cracked, a sound like ice splitting through bone. Everyone looked up. The Dowager did too. For the first time, fear crossed her face without disguise. Seren's silver pup grew larger beside her. Not adult, not healed, but no longer small enough to hide. The vault cried out one final name. Not a child's name, a title. First Moonmender. The silver wolves below turned their faces toward Seren, and the black crown over the throne began to bleed. The black crown over the throne began to bleed. Not red, black. Thick drops slid from the iron points and fell onto the empty throne seat below, hissing as they struck the carved wolfwood. The sound made every noble in the Hall of Moonbans take one step back. The crown was not worn by anyone. Still, it bled like something alive. Seren stood inside the cracked cage of black moonlight, her silver pup beside her, larger now, its crescent chest glowing with every sealed name rising from the vault. Her arm still bled where the judgment circle had cut her, but the pain had changed. It no longer felt like punishment. It felt like a door holding open. Darius stared at the bleeding crown. His face was unreadable. Karen stood beside him, black fur lifted, silver mane bright against the darkening hall. The hooks beneath the wolf's throat flickered and vanished, flickered and returned, as if the poison inside him was fighting to keep its place. The Dowager Queen looked up at the crown, with one hand clenched around her cane. For the first time, she did not look amused. Seren saw why. The crown was answering the sealed wolves. Not the council, not the throne. The stolen children. Darius's voice cut through the hall. "What is inside it?" The Dowager did not answer. Seren looked at the black drops falling from the crown. Each one struck the throne and opened into a small image. A child asleep under moon silk. A healer's knife. A noble mother signing a silence order. A wolf pup sealed inside a silver cradle. A king too young to know the council had placed a leash inside his own beast. The hall saw all of it. The nobles began whispering. The kitchen maid who had received her wolf shadow clutched her chest and sobbed. Other servants pressed forward, faces pale with dawning horror. Some were afraid to hope. Some were afraid to remember. The dowager lifted her cane, closed the vault. No one moved. Her eyes went cold. "I gave an order." Darius turned toward her. "Not to me." The words struck the hall harder than steel. The dowager smiled slowly, but there was blood in the smile now. "Do not mistake a moment of theater for freedom, my son. Your wolf still breathes because I allowed it. Your borders still stand because the council holds them. Your nobles still kneel because I taught them which fear to respect." Darius stepped down from the dais. Karen moved with him. "My wolf breathes because the woman you tried to erase touched him." A sharp silence followed. Seren felt every eye shift to her. "Woman, not servant, not wolf erased." The dowager's gaze narrowed. "Careful. You are turning gratitude into weakness." "No," Darius said. "I am turning witness into law." The black crown cracked again. A thin line split through its center, and from inside came a sound. A whimper. Seren's silver pup froze. The sealed wolves in the vault below went silent all at once. Seren looked up slowly. "There is another wolf inside the crown," she whispered. The dowager's face hardened. Darius's eyes moved to his mother. "Whose?" No answer. The crown bled faster. Seren stepped toward the throne. The black moonlight cage tried to tighten around her, but her silver pup bit into the edge. Karen lowered his head and pressed from the outside. The cage split enough for Seren to pass through. Darius moved as if to follow. Seren raised one hand. He stopped, not because he feared her, because she asked without words. The hall watched her walk alone toward the bleeding crown. The dowager's voice dropped. "Do not touch it." Seren kept walking. "Girl." Seren stopped at the base of the throne. The black crown trembled above her, suspended by old magic. Its blood fell close enough to stain the stone near her feet. The whimper came again. Small, trapped. Seren opened her hands. The silver pup beside her lifted its head and answered with a soft cry. The crown split wider. Inside the black iron, beneath layers of oath magic and old blood, something silver moved. Not a crown jewel. A wolf soul, tiny, starved, curled around a broken thread of royal moonlight. Seren's breath caught. The dowager's voice sharpened. "That one stays sealed." Darius went still. Slowly he turned. "That one," he said. The dowager did not look at him. Seren understood at the same time he did. The wolf inside the crown was not a servant child's wolf. It belonged to the throne. Darius's face changed with a grief too old to have a name. "My brother," he said. The hall froze. Lady Marley covered her mouth. The council lords looked at the floor. The dowager closed her eyes for one brief moment, and when she opened them, they were dry as bone. "Your brother was born weak." Darius's voice went deadly quiet. Kael died in the cradle. He would have died useless. Black light pulsed from the crown. The trapped wolf whimpered again. Seren felt the truth tear through the room. Prince Kael had not died because he was weak. His wolf had been sealed into the crown. A royal child fed into royal law so the throne would obey the dowager's hand. Darius did not shout. That was worse. He walked toward his mother with Karen beside him. The council rings flared. Seren looked up at the crown. "If I free him, what happens?" The dowager answered first. "The crown breaks." Darius stopped. The hall stopped with him. The dowager turned to Seren. "Every border oath tied to Blackthorne blood breaks with it. Every noble house will question succession. Every enemy pack will smell weakness by dawn." Seren looked at Darius. He was staring at the crown, at his brother's trapped wolf, at the thing his throne had been feeding on without his consent. "What do you choose?" the dowager asked him softly. "A dead brother's beast? Or a living kingdom?" The trap was perfect. Again, Darius closed his eyes once. When he opened them, the storm had settled. He looked at Seren, not as king to servant, not as man to savior, but as someone standing beside the only truth left in the room. "Can you free him without using him?" he asked. The question cut through the dowager's trap. Seren looked at the trapped wolf, then at the vault of sealed children below. "I can try," the dowager laughed. "Try? You would gamble a kingdom on a servant trying?" Seren turned toward her. "No," she said. "You gambled it on children screaming silently under stone." The hall absorbed the words. The silver pup beside Seren grew brighter. The sealed wolves below began to howl, not in fear. In answer, Seren lifted both hands toward the bleeding crown. Darius stepped to the side, not in front of her, beside her. Karen stood behind them both. The dowager's eyes flashed black. "Council." Every ringed hand rose. The black crown dropped from the air towards Seren's head. Darius lunget. Seren did not run. The crown stopped inches above her brow, shaking, bleeding, hungry for a new vessel. Inside it, Prince Kael's sealed wolf opened its eyes, and the little wolf whispered one word into the hall. "Brother." The word did not sound like a child. It sounded like a wound that had learned to wait. The black crown hovered inches above Seren's brow, dripping dark blood onto the stone between her feet. Inside its iron ribs, the sealed wolf of Prince Kael stared out with pale silver eyes, small and starved, curled around a thread of royal moonlight that should have belonged to a living boy. Darius stopped breathing. For the first time since Seren had seen him, the Alpha King looked less like a king than a man remembering where grief had been buried for him. "Kael," he said. The little wolf inside the crown pressed one paw against the black iron. The crown shook. The Dowager Queen's voice cut through the hall. "Do not answer it." Darius did not look at her. The Dowager stepped forward, cane striking the stone. "It is not your brother. It is a remnant, a wolf scrap, a royal sacrifice that kept the border oaths from collapsing when your father died." Darius turned then, slowly. "My brother was a sacrifice?" The hall went silent. The Dowager's eyes hardened. "Your brother was dying. You sealed him into a crown. I preserved the throne. You fed my throne his wolf. I saved your kingdom." The words should have sounded powerful. They sounded old. Seren stood beneath the crown, hands open, every instinct screaming not to move. The crown wanted a vessel. She could feel it tasting the silver mark inside her chest, searching for a way to turn Moon Heir into crown healer, soul mender into throne servant. If it fell onto her head, it would not simply kill her. It would use her. The sealed wolves in the vault below began to whine. Her own silver wolf stood at her side, no longer a pup, not yet full grown, its crescent chest bright with restrained fury. Karen pressed against Darius's leg, growling at the crown. Darius looked back at Seren. "Can you free him?" The question was raw, not command, not demand. A brother asking beside a king who had forgotten how to ask for anything without blood attached. Seren looked at the crown. "Yes," the Dowager's smile returned. "Then do it. Free him. Break the crown. Break the border oaths. Let the Eastern war pacts come through by morning. Let every noble house tear each other apart for succession. Let your mercy become massacre." Seren's mouth went dry. There was always another trap. Free the wolf. Destroy the kingdom. Leave the wolf. Preserve a throne built on a child's soul. The court watched her, waiting to see whether power would make her reckless. Waiting to call mercy treason. Waiting to call refusal weakness. Seren lowered her hands. The crown trembled above her. "No," she said. The Dowager's eyes flashed with triumph. Darius went still. Seren looked at him before that stillness could become hurt. "Not like this." The silver wolf beside her stepped forward. Seren turned to the court. "Healing is not theft in reverse. I will not rip him from the crown the way they ripped him from life." The Dowager's smile faded. Seren looked up at the trapped wolf. "Kael has a choice too." A murmur moved through the hall. A council lord scoffed. "A sealed wolf cannot choose." Seren looked at him. "That belief built your power." The black crown dropped another inch. Darius moved, but Seren lifted one hand. He stopped. The restraint tore through him. She saw it in his face. Every part of him wanted to strike the crown, seize the grief, force the answer. But he had learned too much tonight to mistake force for rescue. Seren raised both hands toward the crown, palms open. "Not touching. Inviting, Prince Kael," she said softly. "If you wish to be freed, I will help you. If you wish to remain until the oaths can be rewritten, I will witness you. If you wish to rest, I will not let them call that weakness." The crown bled faster. Inside it, the little wolf closed its eyes. The hall waited. Then Kale's wolf pushed its paw through the split iron. Not toward Seren, toward Darius. Darius's face broke for half a breath. He lifted his hand. The dowager snapped. "Touch it, and you accept the crown's judgment." Darius did not lower his hand. "Then witness me." His fingers met the wolf's silver paw. The bond between brothers opened. Darius dropped to one knee. Not from obedience, from grief. A vision burst across the hall in silver light. Everyone saw it. A nursery beneath winter moon. A cradle. A baby prince with dark hair sleeping beside a tiny silver wolf. The dowager standing over him, younger and colder, while council lords held border maps and healer blades. A black crown waiting on a velvet cloth. "He will never survive the northern fever," a healer whispered. "He does not need to," the dowager said. "His wolf will," the baby cried. The little wolf screamed without sound as they drew it from him and sealed it inside the crown. The crown flared. Border oaths locked. Noble houses bowed. A kingdom survived. A child did not. The vision ended. The hall was no longer silent. It was ashamed. Darius remained on one knee, Kale's silver paw still touching his hand. His face had gone pale, but his voice, when it came, was steady. "You were my brother," he said, "not my border wall." The crown cracked. The dowager stepped back. Seren felt the opening. Not enough to free Kale without breaking everything. Enough to change the terms. She turned to the sealed wolves below. Names hold souls. Witness holds law. The crown was fed a child because the border oaths had no living witness. The judge marks of the old trial circle flickered beneath her feet. Not black now. Silver. Darius looked at her. "What do you need?" "Witnesses." He rose slowly, then turned to the hall. Every noble flinched under his gaze. "Those whose houses swore border oaths under Kale's stolen wolf," he said, "step forward." No one moved. Karen growled. Darius's voice dropped. "Step forward, or I will let the crown name you." That moved them. One by one, 7 noble lords and 3 noble women came down from the balconies, faces pale, rings trembling on their hands. Seren looked at them. "You will renew the oaths without a child inside the crown," a lord whispered. "The old magic requires royal blood." Darius drew a dagger from his belt and cut his palm. "No," Seren said. He paused. She shook her head. "Not blood alone. That is how they made the first wound." She looked at the nobles. "Names." They stared at her. "Speak the name of the child your oath used." The first noblewoman began to cry. "Prince Kale Blackthorne." The crown shuddered. Another lord swallowed. "Prince Kale Blackthorne." Then another, and another. The name filled the hall. Not as fuel, as apology. The black crown split open. Kale's little silver wolf stepped out onto the air, trembling but free of the iron. The border banners above the hall burned with silver fire, then steadied. The kingdom did not collapse. The oaths had changed hands, from stolen soul to spoken witness. The dowager stared as if the world had betrayed her. Kale's wolf walked across the air to Darius and pressed its head against his chest. Darius closed his eyes. When the wolf dissolved, it did not vanish into the crown. It entered Karen. The royal wolf threw back his head and howled, stronger than before, carrying 2 griefs and 1 living bond. Sian exhale. Then the dowager's cane struck the stone. A hidden blade slid from its base. She drove it into the cracked trial circle. Black light exploded upward. Not toward Darius. Toward Seren's silver wolf. The dowager smiled with tears in her eyes and hatred in her voice. "If I cannot keep the king leashed," she whispered, "then I will seal the moon. Air again." Seren's wolf screamed as black chains burst from the floor and wrapped around its throat. Black chains wrapped around Seren's silver wolf. The sound was worse than iron. It was the sound of something old being stolen again. Seren dropped to her knees as the chains tightened around the wolf's throat. Pain tore through her chest in the exact shape of the crescent mark beneath her skin. The silver wolf staggered, no longer small, no longer hidden, but not fully grown enough to break the dowager's spell alone. The court froze. After everything they had seen, sealed children, poisoned bonds, Kale's stolen wolf, the crown fed by grief, they still froze. Fear was fast. Truth was slower. The Dowager Queen stood with her hidden blade driven into the cracked trial circle, tears on her face and hatred in her eyes. "I built a kingdom that obeyed," she whispered. "I will not watch it kneel to a servant with stolen moonlight." Darius moved. Seren moved with him. The black chains lashed upward, striking both king and wolf before they reached Seren. Darius hit one knee, teeth clenched, one hand braced against the stone. Seren snarled, but Kale's silver light inside him flickered as the old crown magic pulled at every healed wound. The Dowager smiled through her grief. "You see? Mercy makes weak doors." Seren pressed one palm to the floor. Her silver wolf choked beside her. Every instinct screamed for Darius to cut the chains, for Seren to tear through the circle, for someone stronger, crowned, trained, feared to end this. But this was the wound they had made in her, the belief that her soul could be taken because someone else knew what to do with it. Seren opened her other hand. Slowly, the chains tightened. She looked at her wolf. Not a pup now, not a shadow. A silver she-wolf with crescent fire in her chest, trembling but awake, eyes fixed on Seren with the patience of something that had waited all her life to be asked. Seren understood. Healing was not command, not even over herself. "What do you choose?" she whispered. The Dowager laughed. "It cannot choose. I sealed it before it had a name." Seren ignored her. The silver wolf lifted its head against the chains. Its answer came through Seren's ribs, wordless and clear. "Live." Seren's breath broke. Then the vault beneath the hall answered. One by one, every restored wolf spirit lifted its voice. Leora, Tomas, Aria, Malric, Sava, dozens of names became light. The children, servants, mothers, kennel boys, and forgotten heirs whose wolves had been returned placed their hands over their hearts. The kitchen maid stepped forward first. "Witness," she said. The young stable boy followed. "Witness." The nobles who had renewed Kale's oath looked at one another, ashamed and terrified. Darius rose slowly, blood on his mouth, black chain marks burning across his armor. His voice carried through the hall. "Witness is not a word you speak after courage. It is the thing that makes courage possible." He turned toward the court. "Witness her." One by one, the hall answered. "Not all. Enough. Witness. Witness. Witness." The words struck the black chains. They trembled. The Dowager's blade shook in the trial circle. Seren placed both hands over the crescent mark on her chest. "I was not born empty." The chains cracked. "I was not erased by the moon." Her silver wolf planted its paws. "I was sealed by fear." The Dowager's face hardened. "You were sealed because you're kind, unmade kings." Seren looked at Darius. He was standing one pace behind her now, not because he was weak, but because he had chosen not to stand over her truth. "No," Seren said. "We mended what kings broke." Silver light burst from her chest. The chains shattered. Her wolf lunged not at the Dowager, not at the council, but into Seren. The impact drove Seren backward on a wave of moonfire. For one breath she felt teeth, fur, breath, heartbeat. Not separate. Not hidden. Hers. Her wolf opened inside her soul. The hall of moonbones flooded with silver light. Every false seal in the floor burned away. The vault below split open, not as a wound now, but as release. The remaining wolf spirits rose in streams of moonfire and returned to the living bodies they belonged to. Servants cried out as shadows formed behind them. Old nobles collapsed as stolen oaths tore from their rings. Healers dropped their bowls and wept into their hands. The Dowager staggered back. Her hidden blade melted in the trial circle. For the first time she looked old. Not powerful. Old. Seren stood. Her eyes burned silver. Her wolf stood behind her, full-grown now, luminous and fierce, its crescent chest blazing like a second moon. The Dowager whispered, "Monster." Seren shook her head. "No. Whole." Darius stepped forward, but stopped before reaching her. His hand opened at his side. "A question." Even now, especially now. Seren looked at that hand, then at the court that had watched her fail, bleed, heal, and return to herself. She did not take his hand yet. First, She turned to the dowager. You will not die for this. The dowager's mouth twisted. Mercy? No, Seren said. Memory. The trial circle flared beneath the dowager's feet. The black rings on every council hand cracked and fell. Their hidden commands, their sealed orders, their Moonbane records rose into the air around them in silver script. You will stand before every child whose wolf you sealed, Seren said. You will hear every name. You will answer every mother, every servant, every heir, every beast you called dangerous because it would not obey you. The dowager tried to speak. No command came. Only silence. Not stolen. Returned. Darius turned to the court. His voice was cold, clear, and final. From this night forward, no healer may seal a child's wolf. No council may touch an alpha bond. No crown may be fed a soul. The beast chamber is closed. The trial circle will test no one for worth again. He looked at Seren, and no king will name a Moon-Mender as his to command. The hall absorbed the words. Slowly, wolves lowered their heads. Not to Darius, to Seren. She should have felt triumph. Instead, she felt the weight of every stolen beginning. Karen came to her first, the great black royal wolf, now strong enough to stand without trembling. He lowered his head and pressed his muzzle near her feet, not bowing from sickness this time, choosing respect. Seren placed her hand on his brow. Darius felt it through the bond and closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, the old coldness was still there, but changed. No longer a wall. A blade set down between them instead of against her. I sent you to that chamber, he said. Yes. I dismissed you before I knew what had been done. Yes. I will spend my reign repairing what my throne allowed. If you still have a reign, a faint, grim shadow of a smile touched his mouth. If, only then did he offer his hand again. No command. No claim. No royal demand dressed as tenderness. Seren looked at her silver wolf. The wolf looked back whole and waiting. Seren placed her hand in Darius's. By choice. Above them, the cracked black crown fell from the throne wall and broke into dust before it touched the floor. The palace wolves howled once more. Not Moon-Heir. Not Soul-Mender. This time, they howled the title the court would never bury again. Moon-Mender Queen.